Joining me now to talk about this is Congressman Burgess Owens, who serves on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, as well as the Education and Workforce Committee. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Utah. Congressman Owens, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to see you.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you, my friend. Absolutely.
So there appears to be interest on both sides of the aisle to very quickly address this issue and work with the National Transportation Safety Board to come up with recommendations to make our airways safer. Is that an accurate read?
Very accurate, and I'm blessed to be on a committee, the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, and it's chaired by Chairman Graves, who's actually a pilot. So this is one of those committees you'll hear a lot about because it's very thoughtful, very bipartisan, and it's all about getting the right things done. So I look forward to having these conversations. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we will never allow this type of tragedy to happen again. And I'm excited about, again, getting to the bottom line of this for sure.
Now, I want to play a clip from this past weekend. This was former DNC chair Jamie Ricardo Harrison at the National Harbor right outside of D.C. in Maryland talking. It gives a great example of the left's fixation on DEI and that after all that's happened, even the election and the rejection of their agenda, they still don't seem to get it. Play clip 5.
As you know, we are required to use the vice chair positions to gender balance our leadership team. Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced.
What do you make of that?
Well, this is why they lost, and they keep it up, they can continue to lose. Americans are tired of this. This is a country based on merit. If you wonder why all of a sudden the conversation around this, even this tragedy, DEI is part of it, is because they did this. They're the ones that have started putting in place a policy that they're not looking at merit at all. They're looking at everything else, color, skin, gender, things that make no difference. And the minute you get into a position where you're getting on an airplane, getting in a car, getting in a taxi, anything we do, we want the very best to be in control of that process. So we're getting back to that. This is, they say the chickens come home to roost. This is what happens when you start putting everything else before true merit. And that's why, by the way, we got rid of affirmative action, because that was also a very racist, very demeaning ideology or process when it came down to Black Americans and their ability to think. So no, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to make sure moving forward. And I'm so thankful for the fact that all this stuff is being pulled out from the roots from our government, and we're going to be putting the same process into our school system, teaching merit, and make sure that we're holding people to the highest standards. And I'll tell you, Americans will stand up. They will come to the plate and do the very best when they know that's what the expectations are.
I mean, Congressman Owens, you're a professional football player. Right? You played with the Oakland Raiders. Would DEI work on the football field?
And to that point, isn't it interesting that DEI is not put into athletics? It's not put into sports. In sports, you expect to win. So you put the very best talent on the team. Anybody who did it, a coach who did that DEI stuff will be fired in a heartbeat. So here's the point I'm making, Tony. They don't mind doing this when it comes down to intellectual stuff. When it comes down to athletics, where we have to show ourselves our strength, then they don't. So it is a true racist thing, and I'm just glad we're pulling away from this and getting back to what really matters.
Well, I mean, it's known from our listeners, I'm not a huge sports fan, so they'll take this in context, but I think it's more important that an airplane lands safely than someone win a Super Bowl football game. I mean, yeah. I think when Americans get onto a plane or they get onto a train or whatever it might be, they expect it to do its very best to arrive at its destination, and the individuals directing it, driving it, flying it ought to be qualified, period.
Yeah. And we're going to get back to that. The fact is, we have for years gotten on the airplane. We say safe travels, just a way we just say have a good trip. But we also expect to be there to land safely and not to have this conversation about whether people were the very best. And I'm hoping that's not the case in this particular situation. We'll find that out. But we need to realize across the board, our country is based on merit. That's how we respect each other. That's how we gain command respect. And we're going to get back to that basic rule of getting that done, and I'm excited about that process.
Congressman Owens, to that point, I mean, your success, sports, education. Let's talk about a measure that you're working on. You're also on the Education Committee, school choice. Giving parents an opportunity to give their children the best opportunities to succeed.
The blessing of the last 4 years is that we now are one as a nation. Families across the country looked over the shoulders of their children, realized that education was not up to par. We just came out of a study that only 30% of our country's kids are proficient in math and reading. That is unacceptable. So we're putting together something called Education Choice for Children's Act. It's an opportunity for individuals and corporations to invest in what's called a scholarship granting organization. It's a nonprofit. There's no link to the Department of Education at all. And from that, those who invest can actually get tax credits. It does, and from this CGO, parents can now request funds for anything they want to, public, private, parochial, homeschool, whatever they want, and that money comes to them to take send their kids to the educational process that they want to go to. I'm excited about it. It's truly the bringing meritocracy into the process of education, and at some point, Tony, we're going to also figure out a way to reward the best teachers in our country, to bring those who love this profession, love to teach, bring them to this industry. They can make a lot of money, and the better they are, the more they can make. And we can make sure we're rewarding those who are doing a good job, and those who don't want to do the teaching the right way, let's have them find something else to do. This is one of the most important national security issues in our country's history, is our education of our children.
And when you look at it from a school choice standpoint, many people get, worked up about that, saying you're attacking public education. No, what you're doing is you're allowing the best to rise to the top, but you're also doing something else, is that you're involving parents into the education of their children by giving them a choice and a vested interest in it.
Well, the great thing about this legislation, it does not touch 1 red cent of public educational funds. It does not touch district, local. This is something that people are investing themselves. And what it does, and they found out about 6 different states, that the more they have, the more merit, the more competition, the better public school systems get to be. It works out. It's very much common sense. We're a country that likes to compete, and the very best to be paid the best. So this is it's a common sense legislative process. It does not take away from public school systems, but allows us as Americans to invest in our kids. The return on investment is that we're going to have the smartest, most innovative, the most productive kids and adults in the entire world. And that's what we should be looking at. And it doesn't matter what zip code they live in. No one should be given a death sentence of education because they live in a certain zip code. We're changing that, and American people behind us. And we're going to make sure we educate particularly those at-risk communities. And those who do not vote for this, they need to be voted out. Our kids should be the most important thing of all things we can do. And if they don't see a way of getting that done, they want to highlight labor unions instead, then we need to figure out how to get new people in D.C.
I could not agree more, Congressman Owens. I think competition is the key to improving everything, because everybody, they're on the top of their game, or at least they try to be if they want to be in the game when they have competition. And I think without it, everybody gets lazy. And I think that's what's happened in our education system in the United States. I'll give you the final word.
This is the only place that we have not had innovation. Innovation in education should be the top of mind for all of us. We're going to get that done through this process and bring the very best minds in our country to where they can teach our kids, so we can produce the very best minds in the world. So I'm looking forward to that. I just want to congratulate all the people out there who's given us this opportunity by bringing President Trump into this process. The last 3 classes in Congress, we're going to make a big difference. We just need to make sure we explain this and educating everybody as we move forward.
All right. We'll be tracking it very closely. Congressman Burgess Owens, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. All the best.